Thank you to our partners at Complete Kids for partnering with our platform and sponsoring this episode. Complete Kids is a Gaston County born and Belmont headquartered organization that specializes in behavioral, occupational, physical, and speech therapy for children. So if you're someone who's actually wanting to continue or begin your career in children's therapeutics, and we have opportunities for you at Complete Kids. There are careers right now for you to explore, from getting started all the way to a board certified behavioral analyst and everything in between, and being able to not only give back to the next generation of children, but continue to call Belmont your home. Complete Kids has received approval from Belmont City Council to occupy the old Belmont Middle School and will be occupying in 2023. So if you want to call the Belmont Middle School your office and be a part of this culture, giving back to the next generation of children and still having the opportunity to be in our community, then visit CompleteKids.com and select the Careers tab. Thank you again for your partnership, Complete Kids. Back to the episode. To ask, but now being here in Belmont and being in the community events coordinator role, of all the events that you have going on, what does your role look like in actually facilitating and making those happen? Because some people might feel like, oh, we just showed up and this is here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work and planning that goes into that. What does that actually look like? Like a day in the life of the Belmont Main Street Program Community Events Coordinator, as told by Morgan Abernathy.
Sure. Depends on the day.
Welcome back to Building Belmont. One thing that makes Belmont so great is our community-oriented approach as far as what happens in the town, especially on our main street, the Friday Night Live series, the concert series, the events, the farmers market that just came back, Garibaldi Festival. There's always something going on to bring the community together. And I've said it here before, and I say it time and time again, just talking to people. If you are intentional to get out and build relationships, you'll have no problem assimilating into Belmont. And that's probably why it's grown the way it has. People feel comfortable here. They feel at home here. I'm from New Mexico, so I like to say like far, far west North Carolina, like western North Carolina, right? But what many don't know is that there's actually a team dedicated to Main Street, our Main Street program. And today we have one of those team members, one of three, that helps to facilitate and make these things happen. She is the community events coordinator, Morgan, and she's going to talk about all the things that are coming up during the spring and the summer. Thanks for joining us, Morgan.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
So you're an experienced podcaster. You've done one before, so you're ready to go now.
Ready to go. One and ready.
Tell us about this team that if people didn't know what was going on, that they just had no idea there's a Main Street program. Maybe they thought it was all volunteer-led, which you do have the support of a ton of volunteers. What is the Main Street program? And tell me about the team you have there.
The Main Street program comes out of North Carolina, so it's a program across the United States, and each state also has a program. So out of Belmont Main Street, that comes from the North Carolina Main Street program, which is from the Department of Commerce. With the Main Street program, there's a 4-point approach that guides basically what we do. And the elements of the 4-point approach are design, economic vitality, organization, and promotion. So in regard to events specifically, that stems out of the promotion part of the 4-point approach from Main Street America, which then trickles down to North Carolina Main Street and Belmont Main Street.
That sounds like with what you all do for something like, say, Friday Night Live, that it hits several of those points. So from a promotion standpoint, obviously, but even economic vitality, does driving business to local businesses fall under the economic vitality realm?
For sure, yep. So a lot of the initiatives and programs that might come out of promotions align with economic vitality and vice versa. Part of the organization committee, the purpose behind that is coordinating with different organizations. A lot of that ends up being grants, sponsorships, that type of thing.
So I'm already learning something here, that it's not specifically unique to Belmont to have a Main Street program. The Main Street program is actually a larger organization or mission. But what qualifies for a town to have a Main Street program? Because it's my understanding that not every town or city in Gaston County has one, right?
Right. There's a lot of work that goes behind the Main Street program, and all of that was developed before I came on board, long before. So part of it is establishing an annual work plan. Along with that, mission, vision, goals. There's initiatives from each of the committees, which come from the 4-point approach again, and that's developed annually. And then there's 3 to 5 year strategic planning behind that, and it's updated continuously. So I'm still learning a lot about that. It's ever changing, continuously evolving, but we're still working through the 2023 work plan now.
So an annual work plan essentially being a ongoing and evolving business plan to ensure that the Main Street program that they can continue to exist, but also stays on task and on mission?
Right, and it's a helpful guideline to make sure that you're achieving the objectives and more so the goals established by the committee members leading up to the board, leading up to council.
Okay, interesting. Well, a little bit more about you. You are actually a Gaston County native. Tell us a little bit about your story, where you're from, where you went, and how you ended up with the Main Street program.
Sure. I grew up in Mount Holly. I went to East Gaston High School, which is the rival of South Point. And then from East Gaston, I went to Appalachian State, majored in sociology undergrad, decided to stick around in Boone, worked towards a master's program in public administration, finished the master's program in 2021, and in the midst of that, for my internship, I landed a position with the city of Belmont in the admin department. So I had the opportunity to work very closely with the city manager, assistant city manager, city clerk. So that kind of opened the door into local government, and it was a great experience. In August, a full-time position with the city came open, the event coordinator position. So I interviewed for that and ended up getting the job, and so decided to stick around with Belmont for a little while.
Now, do you still feel a little bit of that old rivalry in your heart, or had you been gone long enough that it kind of faded?
Sometimes it kind of comes back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can imagine. I always, being so far from home that, everything is new. I was sharing before, like everything's like an adventure now. But actually being from around here, you almost forget people are actually from around here because, it's like fun when you find one because it's,
right.
I don't want to say it's so rare, but there are a lot of people that are transplants in this area. So I had to ask. But now being here in Belmont and being in the community events coordinator role, of all the events that you have going on, what does your role look like in actually facilitating and making those happen? Because some people might feel like, oh, we just showed up and this is here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work and planning that goes into that. What does that actually look like? Like a day in the life of the Belmont Main Street Program Community Events Coordinator, as told by Morgan Abernathy.
Sure. Depends on the day. Event days are very busy, but prior to the actual event, there is months of planning that goes on behind that. So we'll take the Friday Night Live concert series, for example. The start of that is, selecting bands and who's going to perform at what concert, checking in on dates. There's also a sponsorship element of that. The Friday Night Live concert series would not be possible without sponsors. Along with that, volunteers. It takes almost 30 volunteers for one Friday Night Live concert. Then you multiply that by 5 or 6, and that's a lot of volunteers. Also, vendors. We have a application process for the food vendors that you see at Friday Night Live, so just making sure that they are all vetted and trying to provide the best food options for those who will be attending the concerts. So essentially you're managing volunteers, sponsors, vendors, working with the bands, working with behind the scenes, stage and sound, and then there's also a lot that goes on intra-departmentally. We work with the police department and public works, making sure, there's a safety element behind all of this as well, and the police department could speak to that, but just making sure they're on site, and public works assisting us with the setup. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, a ton. Now, I don't want to lose this, as you said it. So there's a need for sponsors, vendors, and volunteers. Mm-hmm. So call to action and a point of advertising for the Main Street program.
Sure.
If you want to be involved as a sponsor, a vendor, or a volunteer, where do people go?
You can go to cityofbelmont.org/community events, and there's an icon for each event. If you click on that icon, you can find sponsor applications, volunteer applications, and vendor applications. I will say vendors are filling up for Friday Night Live, so if you're interested, you should apply as soon as possible.
Awesome. And then Eileen is very involved, correct?
Yes.
Also known as Belmont NC Happenings. So can they DM her to get more information too?
Yep. Eileen serves as the volunteer coordinator for the Main Street program. So Eileen helps with the day of, especially making sure volunteers are going where they need to be, making sure that they know exactly what their role is, all of that good stuff.
Yeah. So if you also plug in with Eileen, she is, I mean, awesome to make things happen. I mean, she even got me to volunteer once last year, and I loved it. I loved running beers back and forth. It was almost like a challenge, but it was a really good time to get out there and volunteer. And you volunteer in shifts, right? So you could, start your night watching enjoying the concert, and then end your night serving, or vice versa.
Yep.
Is that the same
So
program
each
this year?
shift, is about 2 hours, and it is fun. It's a fast-paced environment, so you're running back and forth. You're interacting with a lot of people, but the environment is also very high energy. So if it's your first time volunteering, it can be very exciting.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I like to volunteer, but I also love competition. I can gamify anything. So by about 15 minutes in, there was one side that was running drinks and our side that was running drinks, and we were it was fun. It was a good time. So yes, volunteer at the Friday Night Live concert series. But again, back to the point of, if you're trying to connect and meet with people, that's a really great place to do it. And you'll probably see both of us back there at some point, right?
Yep, for sure.
So get involved there. Reach out to Eileen. Now, looking at the bands, I had this question as you were talking about them, and I'm looking at our list here of who we have.
Yeah.
I recognize a few of these names. How do you select the cover bands, or the bands, the entertainment there for Friday Night Live?
We work with a booking agent.
Okay.
And they provide really great recommendations. We also gauge the previous year, what we've received from those who attend, and our board members certainly have a lot of input as far as who we would like to see the next year, and then it kind of goes back to availability and budget.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering because, you think about like the Super Bowl, I don't know, it was probably about 5 years ago now. 5 years and prior, it was always a very specific type of entertainment. And then now it's starting to get a little bit more modern,
Right.
day by day. But, I don't know if we'll ever have like a Rihanna cover at Friday Night Live, but I think it's fun to think about like how we actually gain that talent. So looking at the Friday Night Live concert series, which of these bands is your favorite?
I'm excited for all of them. Java Band performed Red, White, and Belmont last year. They're always really fun. And another one to mention this year is Terrence Simeon and the Zydeco Experience. He is a 2-time Grammy Award-winning performer.
Wow.
And that is the Friday leading up to the Juneteenth celebration. Okay. So that will be a really fun weekend as well.
Awesome. Well, that does sound like this is a really, really great names. Now, Java Band, what kind of music do they perform? I guess I missed that last year.
Java Band is a variety, so they have R&B, Motown, a little bit of beach music, hip-hop. They're just really fun. They bring a great energy to the crowd.
Okay. Well, I'll turn it over to you to talk about some of the events coming up. We do have one upon us really quick, the Easter egg hunt, which is Saturday, April 8th. What goes into planning something like that?
Mostly vendors, lining up vendors and entertainment. Also smaller elements like purchasing Easter eggs. We will be hiding 14,000 Easter eggs in Stowe Park. Yep.
Wow. Now, who's filling those?
They come filled.
Okay, thank God.
Yes.
That would have been, you don't need a whole volunteer force just to do that.
Yes.
Okay,
We
better.
do need volunteers to spread the eggs, though. So if you're available the morning of April 8th, come out to Stowe Park to scatter some eggs.
That is the easiest volunteer opportunity ever. Just go out and just make a mess.
Yep, it's pretty
right?
fun. You just chunk eggs around the park and call it a day.
Easy enough.
Yeah.
Okay. and the other events here, I just want to let you kind of walk us through what we have going on. You feel free. You take the mic.
Okay. So we've got the Easter egg hunt as the spring event kickoff on Saturday, April 8th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And we appreciate our sponsors for that, Duran and Marsh Dentistry and Piedmont Lithium. As I mentioned, there's many activities that go into the Easter egg hunt. So we'll have photos with the Easter Bunny. We'll have a bubble blower walking around the park and a balloon twister. And again, 14,000 eggs to be found in Stowe Park.
Awesome.
Yep. Moving on, April 28th is the first Friday Night Live concert of the year, and that will be Thurston Howell. That's a yacht rock genre. The next day will be Garibaldi Festival. That's Saturday, April 29th. That's an event that focuses on art and culture. It's from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. This year we have a variety of music throughout the day for Garibaldi Festival, different genres. Hood Memorial Gospel Choir will be opening Garibaldi Festival. And then Jazz Group Project will follow. Jazz genre. Coming up brass is beach music, and we'll end the night with a Leonard Skinner tribute from Caleb Davis and the Album Series Band.
Wow.
And that's just the music side of things.
Yeah.
So we'll also have artisan vendors in the park. These folks are local. They have handcrafted elements to what they're selling that day, and there will be 50 artisan vendors. And the Gaston County Art Guild will also be hosting the plein air competition again. And this is a 2-day competition, so it will be Friday, April 28th, leading into Garibaldi on the 29th.
That's a really big weekend. So April 28th, April 29th. And I want to ask you there, so you actually grew up in the area. How have you experienced the change in Garibaldi Festival over the years as to what it is now and you're helping to plan it versus what it used to be, and if at all, if there's been any change?
So I had not attended Garibaldi Festival until I began working for Belmont and planning it. I have heard that it's evolved. It used to be basically a fair, maybe, vendor fair. And now we're fine-tuning it to become an art and culture event highlighting artisans from Belmont and those who create.
Okay. And for those that are listening to this, maybe don't know what a Garibaldi is, that was the original name of the town of Belmont, right?
Right.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we touched on that point. Like, what's a Garibaldi? That was the first thing that I said when that popped up. Like, why is this name? What is this? And then, of course, got into the history. So, okay. So being able to now share that whole weekend, make sure that you block your calendar for April 28th and April 29th. I think it's the biggest weekend in Belmont, maybe?
It might be.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Moving on to some of our other events then.
The Friday Night Live concert series continues through June 30th. So Friday, May 12th is Night Train, the Guns N' Roses tribute experience. Friday, June 2nd is Java Band. Friday, June 16th is 2-time Grammy Award-winning Terrence Simeon and the Zydeco Experience. And then the series finale will be the 20 Ride Zac Brown Band tribute.
Okay, Zac Brown Band, June 30th. So that will be, now it's the Red, White, and Belmont. Is that like our 4th of July series of Friday Night Live?
Yes, so Friday Night Live on June 30th will be Red, White, and Belmont edition. So we'll have fireworks and some more food vendors. It'll be a very patriotic night of fun.
I feel like I was just getting over the holiday season and really dreading it getting hot. But now that we're talking about this, I'm flashing back to Friday Night Live up in the park, a big, tall IPA in my hand. Like, I can't wait now. I'm really setting the scene now. I love it. Like a day on the lake and then come out to Friday Night Live. I'm so excited about this. I really just felt it. Now, are the events going to be held in the upper park again?
Yes. Okay. The events will be held on the upper field of Stowe Park. Friday Night Live concert series and Garibaldi Festival and the Easter egg hunt will be all of Stowe Park.
Okay. Now, it seems like it was a hit last year to move it to the upper field. So we're going to continue?
We're going to continue, yes.
Okay.
It will be on the upper field of Stowe Park. So there are more logistics behind Friday Night Live on Main Street. There's a lot that goes into a road closure and public safety components of having an event on the street, believe it or not. So the opportunity to host the concert series on the upper field was safer, and It was a safer bet ultimately.
Okay. I've heard from local businesses that moving it to the upper field actually did allow for more business in their place. Obviously, keeping Main Street open, all the parking that we, do have was available. Did you hear the same, that it was more beneficial for the local businesses, or any change?
So after the first trial run of having everything on the upper field, we did seek feedback from downtown businesses and event attendees. Just, hey, what was your interest? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How were your sales that day? And there was very positive feedback in having it on the field. Again, the road's not blocked for parking and people to visit those businesses. So
fantastic.
It ended up being a positive in our eyes, hence the reasoning behind having it there again this year.
Yes. Well, to the point, when you are heading out to the Friday Night Live series, plan early, stop at a local business, have your dinner, maybe come even earlier, go hit some boutiques, have your dinner, and then make your way up to the upper field and have a couple of drinks and then walk home.
Yep.
Right?
Sounds great.
Yep. Drink responsibly. Okay.
Always.
So moving on to our other events then. Got Movies in the Park coming up, and of course the Farmers Market returning. Tell us what we can look forward to there.
Sure. Movies in the Park will return April 8th, which is the day of the Easter egg hunt. So that first movie will be Hop. It's very family friendly, so you can come out to the Easter egg hunt in the morning and then go home, take a nap, come back, catch a great movie in the park. We work with Aurora Starlit Cinema for Movies in the Park, and they're really great to work with. They offer a great lineup this year. We've got The Greatest Showman, The Goonies, Freaky Friday, Back to the Future, The Princess Bride, and The Sandlot. And again, those are select Saturday nights, April to June, and you can find those specific dates at cityofbelmont.org/community events.
Is there a way through the website that, so yeah, I'm a part of a lot of different business organizations or whatever, and when I sign up, I automatically get the calendar invites. Is there something that you all do or that may plan to do something like that?
I'm not certain that we have the functionality to do that on our website, but I know that's an option with the county. So once our events get posted to the county page, you can select the option to have those populate automatically into your personal calendar.
Okay.
That way you won't miss any dates.
Absolutely. Perfect. So there's also that if you want to, and I everything goes on my calendar. So I was asking for the other, planners out there that, and sometimes I'll plan something and then I'll realize, oh man, that's the night The Sandlot is playing, and I'll be so mad.
Right.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I want to be there. Okay. So that's our Movies in the Park series, and then the Farmers Market is on its way back.
The Farmers Market returns Thursday, April 6th.
Wow.
Mark your calendar for that as well.
Same location? Any major changes happening there, or is it going to be the same?
Same location on Glenway Street, 3:30 to 7 p.m. The Farmers Market comes from a public-private partnership with City of Belmont and the Community Garden. And the Farmers Market Committee really leads the charge here. Ryan Murphy, Eileen, Talia Simmons, gosh, I don't want to leave anybody out, Amy Bossard. We've had some new members pop on this year, Betsy Wingo, Susan and Frank Martello, Lynn Caldwell, Chris with Piedmont Culinary Guild. There's a lot of people behind the Farmers Market setup. So they've been very deliberate in selecting vendors this year based on feedback from last year. So there will be more vendors this year at the Farmers Market. And they're also looking to incorporate some entertainment.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So did you get everyone? Did you miss anyone?
I think I got everyone.
Okay, if she did, then please give her grace. When you start, that's the worst. When you go in, then you got to finish.
Well, we just had a meeting Tuesday, and I named almost everyone on the call. So if you weren't
good.
there, I apologize.
Yes, good. Well, the Farmers Market returning will be awesome. To that point, I think overall, from the outside looking in conversations with Ryan, it was a success last year. Was there anything else that you can share, kind of behind the scenes, as to how it was a success or what you're hearing?
Sure. There's a lot of logistics that go into play with that. Again, public safety elements and coordination with city resources such as public works. That does involve a road closure. So again, from a safety element, it's important that we plan ahead of time to coordinate everything being in place prior to vendors arriving and visitors arriving.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see that returning. Anything else on the events that you want to share with the people?
I think that's it. That's everything April to June. So mark your calendars. All of these events would not be possible without our sponsors and volunteers. So shout out to all of our 2023 sponsors and those who plan to volunteer.
Awesome. You want to give any specific by name shout outs? You kind of have already, but if you'd like to, I mean, the microphone's yours.
Friday Night Live, we'd like to thank Slumpy's, Bisque Imports, Short Run Pro, and Piedmont Lithium. For Garibaldi Festival, we would like to thank Tommy Bynum Heating and Cooling. Movies in the Park, thank you to Aurora Starlit Cinema. And the Easter egg hunt, shout out to Duran and Marsh Dentistry and Piedmont Lithium.
Awesome. Thank you all for your support for that to happen. And again, if you are someone that wants to get involved as a sponsor and be a part of what's happening here, again, it's what makes Belmont so special. It really is a community. And I found that the town that I grew up in was literally a one-stoplight town. And the nearest civilization was 4 hours. So we're literally in the middle of nowhere. And I feel more at home in this community. It's much larger. It's next to a major metropolitan area, but still it feels like home. It feels like everyone can say this is my hometown a little bit. And so thank you for what you do to make that happen. I know that it's thankless, and I know that you're working a lot. I've seen you and Cassidy, running around on event days on the golf carts and, sweating and moving stuff around. And it's like, oh, they're a 3-person team. You have an awesome volunteer force and a lot of support, but you guys are still out there making it happen. So thank you for what you're doing to make this community feel like home. I know that it's, across the highway from where you're from, but we're glad that Belmont recruited you over, from Mount Holly, and that you're serving us in this way. Anything else that you want to share before we go?
I think that's it. Thank you for having me and letting me have the opportunity to plug in about all of the events and shout outs to volunteers and sponsors.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And if you all have any questions for Morgan or the Main Street program or about getting involved, then you can reach out to us via our Instagram, or you can get connected with them on Instagram at Belmont Main Street _DBDA, or of course cityofbelmont.org/community events. But Morgan, Phil, Cassidy, they're all out in the community. If you walk downtown at any given time, you're probably going to run into one of them, and they're approachable. I know that personally. So if you want to ask a question or get involved, just reach out to them. But thank you all for what you're doing in our community. We're all a part of this community together, and it's really awesome to be able to connect and share stories and information, of course, to continue to connect with each other in the community. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Building Belmont podcast. I'm your host, Keanu Trujillo, reminding you to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. And of course, share with a friend, share with a neighbor. We'll see you again next week as we capture more stories, create more connection, and share more information here on the Building Belmont podcast.